Good morning, everybody. So today with Monday, we are starting with a new topic in the subject human resource management. The class is master in business administration, second semester students, and the date is 18th of April 2021. Today is Monday, right? And the topic that we are going to discuss today is human resource planning, right? We have already looked a bit into this topic, so let's start with it. Human resource planning. Human resource planning is also known as manpower planning, as we have already discussed, right? Now, if we talk about human resource planning, it is a two-phase process through which management can project the future human resource requirements for the organization and may develop the suitable plans for it, right? To accommodate the implications of the projections, right? So with the help of human resource planning or the manpower planning, the management can predict the or project the future manpower needs of an organization and make the necessary arrangements accordingly, so that the required human resource may be arranged at that point of time as and when it is needed. Therefore, human resource planning human resource planning is can said to be a process that develop and determine objectives, policies, programs to procure, develop, and utilize human resources in order to achieve the goals of the organization, right? Procure, develop, maintain, integrate, compensate the resources, so in order to attain the goals of the organization, right? So I'm moving on to the next slide. I believe this is clear. We have already discussed about it. The second slide consists of uh, some definitions of human resource management, human resource planning, right? DeZenzo and Robbins, according to DeZenzo and Robbins, they have given a definition of human resource planning. What are they saying? What have they said in their definition? They said human resource planning is the process by which an organization ensures that it has the right number and right kind of people at the right place at the right time, capable of effectively and efficiently completing those tasks that will help the organization to achieve its overall objectives, right? So we have already discussed this definition in a general format, that human resource planning is the process of getting the right number of persons at the right time at the right place with the right qualification and doing the right things, so that the goals of the organization may be achieved, right? And there may not fall any shortcoming or problem in the way of achieving the objectives of the organization, right? Now coming down to the next slide, which talks about another definition of human resource planning in the general sense. It aims at ascertaining the workforce needs of organization in right number and right kind, right? It talks about almost the same aspect of human resource planning, which says that human resource planning should be able to arrange for right number of people, right kind of people at right time at right place with right qualifications, doing the right things, right? So again, coming down to the next slide, which talks about another definition of human resource planning, right? So I will not be going into that this definition. You please either note down this definition, or this definition will be available in my video lecture, which will be uploaded at my YouTube channel. So I will not be going into the details of this definition, right? You can go through it and understand all by yourself, because we have already discussed plenty of definitions for human resource management, right? Now coming down to the next slide, which talks about the nature of human resource planning, right? So let's see what is the nature of human resource planning, right? The nature of human resource planning can be discussed with the help of following points, and these are certain points which have been originated as the characteristics of human resource planning on the basis of definitions that we have discussed till now. the first point, or the first point that depicts the nature or characteristic of human resource planning is human resource planning aims at ascertaining the human resource needs of the organization, both in number and kind. Okay, so it is very much obvious that it makes us understand that what kind of people in what number we will be needing in the future. The second point, it presents an inventory of existing human resource of an organization, right? It presents an it presents the inventory of human resources which are working in the organization. Those people who are working in an organization, human resource planning not only project the future needs of human resource in the organization and where we will be getting those people from, but it also presents us with the human resource inventory, meaning hereby inventory of all those people who are working with us, who are actually working with us right at this moment of time, so that we may be able to understand them, we may be able to know what kind of people with what skills and qualifications we are having, so that as and when it is needed, we may utilize their, we may utilize them for the purpose of doing the job, right? Maybe in case of certain emergency, or maybe in case of shortage of manpower. Now coming down to the next slide, which talks about the third characteristics. It also helps in determining the shortfall or surplus of the human resource, right? Shortfall means you are employing less number of people what you are needed, and surplus means you are employing more number of people what you are needing, right? Now what will be happening, or in fact, if I come down to the process of human resource planning, let's understand that here at this point of time only, human resource planning consists of two things: estimating manpower demand, estimating manpower supply, then comparing both of them. If the manpower demand is equal to manpower supply, you need not to do anything. But if the manpower demand is greater than manpower supply, right, what you need to do, there are certain strategies that you need to follow, and if demand is lesser than supply, then there are certain another strategies that you need to follow. We will be discussing them in detail when we will be discussing about different steps in human resource planning, or when we will be discussing about the process of planning, right? Now coming down to the next slide, objectives of human resource planning, right? What are the prominent objectives of human resource planning, right? So let's see them one by one. The major objectives of human resource planning may be summarized under the following points, right? First point, to ensure optimum use of human resources currently employed. It aims to ensure that those human resources which are currently employed in the organization will be utilized in their optimum capacity, right? Meaning hereby those human resources which are available at this point of time in the organization will be fully utilized. It will be nothing like that they will not be utilized, and we will be hiring further human resource. So the available human resource will be fully utilized. This is the first objective of the human resource planning, so that only if it is needed we will be hiring, we will be hiring more human resources. Otherwise, if our work is getting done by optimally utilizing our human resources, then there will be no need of hiring the people again. Second point, to avoid imbalances in the distribution and allocation of human resources among different departments or divisions, right? There should be a proper balance in deployment of human resources in different department, divisions and sections, right? Only that number of people which is needed to be deployed in those departments or divisions should be deployed, right? It should nothing be like that people more in number should be deployed in some departments, surplus people have been deployed, and in some departments some slightly lesser number of people have been deployed. No, whatever number of people is required genuinely in any department or division or section, only that number of people should be deployed. This is the another objective of human resource planning. Third objective of human resource planning is to assess or forecast the future skill requirements for the accomplishment of the organization objectives, right? To assess, to predict, to project people with what skills we will be needing in the future, so that we may be able to achieve our organizational goals, right? We have not only to assess how many people we will be needing, but it is very much important to understand people with what qualifications and skills we will be needing. Only then we will be able to do our work well and attain the objectives of the organization. So this is the third objective of human resource planning, right? Now coming down to the next slide, next slide, which talks about the fourth objective. It provides control measure to ensure the availability of necessary human resources when required, because you are estimating both the demand and the supply, so that is the reason you may have control over them, right? If the situation changes, you will be changing your human resource planning also. So if when you are making the human resource planning on certain assumptions and those assumptions are still valid in such a situation, you need not to change your human resource planning, and that is how you can have control on these factors, right? Fifth point, to control the cost aspect of human resources, right? By doing proper planning of the human resource, you can even have control on the cost aspect of human resource, because there will be no wastage of human resource. You will not be employing surplus human resource, neither you will be having shortage of human resource. You will be having a perfect balance of, or you will be having that number of employees that you actually need. So cost will definitely be minimized, because you will not be wasting money on your human resource. Sixth point, to formulate transfer or promotion policies, right? With proper or effective human resource planning, you will easily be able to formulate good transfer and promotion policies. Those people those vacancies which can be filled with the help of transfer, you can transfer a person from one department to another department, one division to another division, one branch to another branch, one geographical location to another geographical location, so as to fill in the gap. Or you can even promote the people as and when it is required, as and when a promotion falls due, or as and when some good you notice some good performer who should be promoted as a reward, right? Now coming down to the next topic, scope or elements of human resource planning. Let us understand the scope or the elements of the human resource planning, right? The major activities which are involved in the human resource planning may be summarized as under, right? First point, listing of current human resource or human resources with the organization, right? Listing of current human resource or human resources with the organization, right? First point. Second, assessing the extent to which the current human resources utilized to the advantage of the organization. We need to have a list of all the human resource which are working with us along with their qualification, experience, and skill details, right? And we have to see that whether those who are being employed in the organization are utilized to the advantage of the organization or not, meaning hereby are the existing human resources being utilized in their optimum capacities or not, right? Next, third point, phasing out the surplus human resources, if any. If there is any surplus human resource in your organization, then either adjust it in some or the other of the department as and when it is needed, or if they cannot get adjusted, then ultimately you have to make them uh, you have to retrench them, or you have to ask them to go for VRS, that is voluntary retirement scheme. Or if they can be adjusted in some other department, you can transfer them to that department, division, or geographical location. Right. Coming down to the next slide. It talks about the fourth point, which says analyzing the requirements of human resources in future in the right of expansion plans, retirements of the personnel, etc. In future, whatever expansion plans you are having, we have already discussed about expansion strategies. What is expansion strategy? Like, we are having a branch in Lucknow, we are going to open another two branch in Varanasi and Allahabad, right? So we need to hire people. For that, we need to plan in advance in our human resource planning, right? So this is expansion strategy. Diversification strategy, like, we are in manufacture, we are the manufacturers of tires. Now we have also started manufacturing the horns which are being used in the vehicles. So it is a diversification, right? It is not a product from the tire industry, rather it is a product from some other industry. So it is diversification. From one industry, we have started another unit which is manufacturing car horns, right? So it is a diversification. In both the cases, we will be needing people. Moreover, in the time to come, in the future, people will be retiring from time to time from your organization. You also have to keep that particular thing in your notice, and you need to plan accordingly, that in future when people will be retiring, we have to hire. So all of this you have to follow up in your human resource planning in advance. Coming down to the fifth point, it making human resource procurement plans, right? How you have to make the procurement plans for human resources, that how will you be procuring human resources, how you will be hiring the human resources, what methods will you be using in order to hire the human resource, and when, right? Designing training programs for different categories of human resources. When you will be hiring the people, obviously you need to train them so that they may be able to adjust in according to your organizational culture and climate. Moreover, they in order to make them work to their full capacity and without any wastage, hit and trial method should not be used. For this purpose, they need to be trained so that they may be able to handle the material, tools, and equipments well, and they may be able to understand the nitty-gritties of the organization, so that they may be able to better understand their work and may perform their work with their full productivity, right? The next slide, which talks about the importance of human resource planning, how human resource planning is important for an organization. This is the slide which talks about that, right? Human resource planning is a two-phase process which is very important for the organization, through which management project the human resource requirements and develop human resource plans. Okay, it is an ongoing process, it is a regular process. It helps in proper recruitment and selection in order to have the right type of people, so that they may occupy different positions which are there in the organization. It also helps in designing the training programs in order to train them so that they may be able to gain required skills and perform their work effectively. In this way, human resource planning plays an important role in the effective management of the human resource who are working in your organization, right? Here, systematic human resource planning provides here systematic human resource planning provides lead time for acquisition and training of employees in order to meet the future requirements, and so that they may be able to gain the right skill set, where and they may be using that those skill set in order to perform their job and work more productively. It becomes more important because lead time for recruiting people can be used in order to train the employees, right? Rather than hiring people, you should be training your existing employee if it is so desired, right? Now coming down to the next slide. Non-availability of suitable human resource is a situation which results in postponement or delay in new projects or expansion plans. Right? If you are not getting the right human resource or right kind of human resource which you are needing, then ultimately what will be happening? You have to postpone your expansion plans, or you have to postpone your new projects, because you will be left with no other option. Because you cannot hire wrong human resource, or you cannot hire inappropriate human resource for your project. If you hire if you hire such kind of human resource which are not desired by you, then ultimately you a lot of wastage will be there, and you will not be getting the desired results. Moreover, they will be working with lower amount of efficiency and with lower productivity. In order to overcome this, what organizations are doing? They are planning their human resource planning effectively, right? In order to meet out this situation, what they are doing? They are planning out their human resource requirements well in advance, so that they can be able to attain the required human resources at the time, and may be able to face a healthy competition from their competitor, and may not be losing in the long run, right? Now next is benefits of human resource planning, right? What are the benefits of human resource planning, right? Let us understand the benefits of human resource planning. Human resource planning is an important tool for human resource management, because it provide help in lot many things. Okay, what are those benefits? Let us understand them one by one. First, human resource planning or manpower planning results in reduced labor costs, because it helps the management in understanding human resource planning. Human resource planning is very much helpful in reducing the labor cost, because it helps the management to anticipate shortages or surpluses in human resource and correct these imbalances before they become unmanageable, right? With the help of human resource planning, you can easily understand whether there is surplus of manpower or whether there is shortage of manpower. And with the help of this understanding, you can minimize the cost. How can you minimize the cost? You can minimize the cost by creating a proper balance. If there is surplus, then you should be taking required action in order to manage this surplus, or in order to deal with this surplus stuff. Or if you are having some shortage, then you should be taking required steps in order to deal with this shortage. So in both the cases, you will be handling the cost aspect of labor very well. The second point here, it serves as a basic for planning employee. It helps in making you to plan employee development programs, so that your employees and your workers may be developed and may be subjected to training programs, where they can acquire the skills, those skills which are required by them, right? Unnecessary training programs should not be there. When you will be doing the training needs assessment, TNA, that what are the training needs of their employees, and you will be understanding the training needs of the employee, and you will be giving training to your employees only in those areas, yeah, only in those particular only on those particular points or technology. Then ultimately the employees will be learning the required skills, and will becoming more productive, right? Third point, it also enables to understand the gap in personals, right? What are the gaps in the personals, and to devise the training programs accordingly, right? if there is any gap between the performance of the candidate, then it also helps you to understand that, and you can tailor made a program for you can tailor made a training program for that, in order to bridge up that gap in performance of the employee or the worker. Fourth point, it leads to improvement in overall business planning process, right? Obviously human resource planning leads in the improvement of overall business planning, because ultimately it is a part of business planning, it is a part of corporate planning, right? And human resource planning is a very important part of high level corporate planning, corporate level plans, right? Fifth, it helps in formulating succession plans as a part of replacement process, right? I have already talked about succession planning, that if certain employee retire, if certain employee gets transferred, if certain employee resigns, if certain employee dies, who is going to take the position of that particular employee, or who is going to replace the one who has either died or left the job, or have got promoted, or have got transferred. In all such situation, all these situations, planning for all these situations is known as succession planning. So human resource planning again is very much helpful in succession planning, right? Other than this, this exercise provide lead time for identifying the managers who can promoted from who can promoted to senior positions also, right? Now sixth point or sixth benefit, it leads or it generates greater awareness about human resource management towards in the organization. Okay. Seventh point, it serves as a tool, it serves as a tool. What tool? To evaluate the effective alternatives of human resource actions and policies. What alternatives can we have, or what alternatives can we plan, right? So these are certain benefits of human resource planning. Now let's see human resource plan levels of human resource planning, right? let us see let us see human resource planning at different levels. There are three different levels where human resource planning is being made. Okay, we are talking we are having a helicopter effect of the human resource planning. Am I audible to all? Am I
Yes,
audible?
sir.
Right. अब तक जो we have discussed, you people have followed everything. Is there any
Yes,
question?
sir.
All right, fine, fine. So we will be continuing with that with this, the levels of human resource planning. We will be having a helicopter effect of the human resource planning, and we will be understanding it from the we will be taking a complete view of human resource planning, that what are the different levels where the human resource planning is being done, right? Human resource planning is relevant at both macro and micro level, right? Macro level we have already studied, and micro level we have already studied. I mean, macro and micro are the terms that you people have encountered with in your managerial economics in your first semester. So I'm not going in detail of them. Let's continue with the slide, right? Human resource planning at the national level is done by the government. ठीक है, like population projection, programs for economic development, educational facilities, occupational distributions, industrial and geographical mobility of personnel. ठीक है, these are some of the human resource planning which are made at the national level, right? They cannot be made at the organizational level. Rather, this kind of human resource planning is usually done at the national level. So the first level where the human resource planning is being done is at the national level. Now coming down to the second level, at the sector level, it is done by the government to it at the sector level. Again, it is done by the government, and it is done by the government. And what area it covers? At the sector level, human resource planning is done by the government, and it covers the area human resource needs of agriculture, industrial, service sectors, etc. ठीक है. Third, at the industrial level, it may cover human resource forecasts for human particular industry like engineering, heavy industries, consumer goods industries, etc. Public utilities industries, etc. ठीक है. So at the human resource planning is basically done at the national level, at the sector level, and at the industrial level, right? Now coming down to the fourth, at the level of the individual unit, right? It is the fourth level. I said wrong that it will be at the 3 level. It is rather it is rather more than 3 level. That is the fourth level is at the level of the individual unit, right? It may relate to its human resource need in relation to various plants, departments, divisions, etc. Right? Moreover, plant human resource plans are prepared by the operating committees, and these plans are submitted to departments or divisional heads. Plant level human resource planning is done at the plant level, and these estimate of human resource is submitted to the concerning department and division, and these divisional committees review the plans and integrate these plans to the top management. These departmental and divisional level plans are being reviewed by the departmental and divisional level committees, and then they are submitted to the top level management, and at the top level management these departmental or divisional plans are reviewed